When we think about the crypto market, obviously the big thing that comes to mind is price action, right? We want to make money. We want to see big moves happening around crypto. It's a very volatile market. But what if I told you that we are now starting to see crypto and the entire market behind it become legitimized? We're starting to see things mature around this market, and more so, a lot of the moves happening today is putting a spotlight on how mature this market is becoming. For an example, one big move that just happened was crypto firm Gemini filed for a US IPO. Now, this was apparently confidential. It was supposed to be, in secret, but it got the lid blown off of it, right? We don't know how, but it wasn't confidential because it was everywhere the second that they did file for this. Now, from this point on, right, we're probably going to see a lot of big moves happening like this around many exchanges, maybe even stablecoin issuers as well. And the big question is, do we see Ripple file for an IPO as well? Well, in this video, I'm obviously going to outline that. But on top of this, right, we did see a post made by Fajal. We have crypto IPO window has been blown open. And what's interesting about this, okay, is if we think about the IPOs, it's becoming a very common thing. The Circle IPO was an accelerator. From that point, we now have Gemini, and I do question what's next, because there's a lot of great exchanges already around the space that could definitely be next in line. Coinbase really did start all of this when they IPO'd, but it's been quite some time since they did. And it did come with a lot of problems from the SEC. The only reason why we're now starting to see major IPOs and major acquisitions happening around crypto and even institutional grade adoption is simply because we now have a pro innovation SEC at the helm. And we also have an SEC crypto task force that's opening the doors for all of these moves to actually happen, which is very exciting. This means that going forward, we're probably going to see even bigger moves and very significant accelerated pushes to get things greenlit in the US. And of course, you probably already know where I'm going, with this. It's basically the idea that every single case in front of us, including the Ripple SEC case, all of that's done. We're going to see the market open in a big way. Institutional adoption itself will start to accelerate. We'll probably see Ripple become a much bigger name because we'll start to see even more acquisitions from Ripple's side. But on top of that, right, everything around crypto is becoming a reality. Things that we talked about 2, 3, 4 years ago that, pretty much made no sense at the time or, was a dream to most people. It's now actually happening, which is very exciting. But on top of this, right, it's not just about IPOs. We also have a scoop. This is from a crypto reporter for Fortune magazine, Ben Wise. We have scoop. Big tech giants like Apple, X, Airbnb, and Google Cloud are now considering stablecoin integrations. And I actually think that we're probably going to see some more stablecoin launches by some of these big companies. Reason why I say that is because we already know from the Circle IPO and the Circle news, Uber wanted to launch their stablecoin. We actually have a video over here from the Uber CEO at Bloomberg Tech saying that the company is considering using stablecoins to lower cost. Listen closely to this, and then I want to talk a little bit more about this.
I understand that you are considering stablecoin as a vehicle for Uber. Talk about where your considerations are and how that might benefit your business.
Yeah, we're still in the study phase, I'd say, but I think stablecoin is one of the, for me, more interesting instantiations of crypto that has a practical benefit other than crypto as a store of value. Obviously, you can have your opinions on Bitcoin, but it's a proven commodity. And people have different opinions on where it's going. But I do think that stablecoin is quite promising, especially for global companies that are moving money around globally to create a mechanism for us to essentially reduce costs.
I understand.
Now, yeah, stablecoins are a huge game changer for any traditional business model because you got to remember that they're still stuck on trad rails. Like traditional rails are extremely inefficient. You know, cost, speed, you name it. So the fact that Uber is considering this, which we do already know that this was announced yesterday, think about what is going to happen going forward, right? If Uber is going to do this, every additional company is going to do this. The second that a report comes out from Uber talking about how much they, saved in terms of utilizing stablecoins or integrating stablecoins into their business model, what do you think happens from that point on? Every single enterprise company is now looking into launching stablecoins. All it takes is one. I said this about banks. I said this about enterprises. I will say this over and over again until everyone listens. All it takes is one big player to adopt any of this tech, including, of course, stablecoins, because the efficiencies, right, that are really achieved through this tech, it quickly becomes a spotlighted announcement. Mainstream media will pick it up. They will talk about it. All the other companies, all of the other big players, they will look at it, notice it, and say, we have to do this. But on top of this, let's actually talk a little bit more about the Circle IPO. So a lot of people thought that Ripple was going to acquire Circle, and they actually said like, all right, well, the Circle IPO means that Ripple will no longer be able to, they won't be able to acquire Circle, essentially. What we have over here from Smoke Dog, that Circle's IPO does not rule out a possible Ripple acquisition. Here we actually have from Presto Research, we have second, and let me actually just zoom in real quick so that you guys can see this. Let me actually open this up in a new tab. It's being annoying. We have second, don't hastily conclude that Circle's M&A prospects are dead. Potential synergies with Coinbase or Ripple are real, but the deals failed primarily over pricing disagreements. Price discovery in the public market could help narrow this gap and reignite negotiations. It may even attract new bids from traditional finance, especially given recent reports that mega banks are exploring their own stablecoin issuance. So yeah, this could definitely still open up negotiations. It could actually put a spotlight on a realistic valuation for Circle as well, which, would bring in more bids or even potential higher bids to really acquire Circle fully. And definitely when we think about Ripple, they're probably one of the first ones right at the door waiting for an answer. But on top of that, we also have over here, it would be genius for Ripple or Coinbase to buy Circle. It looks like Circle's IPO is 25 times oversubscribed, valuing the company at around $7 billion. If someone can buy it for even 12 to 13 billion, that's a steal, in my opinion, for what this business could be worth in 20 years. Circle has built the entire market structure for stablecoins well before it will formally exist in the US, i.e. ahead of the Genius bill. My prediction, Stripe, Square, Ripple, Coinbase, they're all going to end up competing with each other for stablecoin dominance, which is really good for end businesses and consumers and probably really bad for terminal margins. The company that builds the most efficient infrastructure and sells it for the cheapest cost plus with a thin margin on top will probably take this market. Now, when we think about what's going on here, yeah, everyone's eyes are focused on Circle or even Tether when it comes to stablecoins. Nobody really cares about Ripple with RLUSD. And I think that it's because of how new RLUSD actually is. Like, we got to remember that RLUSD is 171 days old. That's it. USDC is 2,445 days old. USDT is almost 4,000 days old. Okay? But I want you guys to understand that RLUSD is making so much traction and a lot of noise. I do think that it's only a matter of time until everyone's eyes are really on Ripple with RLUSD. And again, all it really does take is one big player to tap into RLUSD, which we're already starting to see the market really open up big for the stablecoin. But outside of this, we also have over here from Brian Armstrong. Congrats to Jeremy Allaire and the entire Circle team on your IPO and reaching $30 trillion in lifetime USDC volume. Now, more than ever, USDC is the most trusted stablecoin, which, again, I find it very interesting to see this type of wording. And then, of course, we have building legitimate regulated crypto products is tough. Doing so in 2013, 2014, when Circle was founded, was nearly impossible. Let's all celebrate this milestone with them as a major win for the industry. And yeah, listen, it is great for them. I think that this is going to really accelerate a lot of big moves happening around crypto. And we definitely look at Ripple. What is Ripple's next move? Everyone thinks that because Circle IPO'd, and we also have Coinbase IPO, and now we have, Gemini filing for an IPO, they think that Ripple is next. Anyone telling you this clearly did not listen to Brad Garlinghouse. On 2 occasions, he said that they're not rushed for an IPO. We have over here, Circle went ahead and rushed for the IPO and pocketed a $37 million check. To recall, a few weeks earlier, Brad said most companies that go public do that to raise capital. We haven't needed to raise capital. Do you see the difference? But when they do go IPO, Ripple will leave a mark. Big shout out to XRP Guy. Check it out.
The reality, most companies that go public do that to raise capital. We haven't needed to raise capital, and so that has not been a driving force. We have talked a little bit about would we go public, and it's like, well, the U.S. market until recently has been very hostile, and like, why would we even try to have that conversation? I mean, I guess the exact answer, the reality, most companies.
Now, on top of that, if we go over here to Bloomberg Crypto's interview with Brad going back to March of this year, we also have Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse says an IPO is possible, but isn't a huge priority. Check it out.
Is an IPO, frankly, in your future now? We talk so much about the potential for the XRP token to be wrapped in an ETF. That is a method of listing. Right. So is listing possible now for you for Ripple?
Well, it's certainly something that is possible. The United States SEC under Gensler was so hostile to this industry. I mean, ironically, they approved the S1 from Coinbase and then sued them for doing the things they said they were doing. So this SEC, fortunately, is going to be, I think, very constructive and positive for this industry. So I think that's available, and I think the company's at a stage where we could consider that. That being said, it isn't a huge priority. I think most companies are going public. Raising capital is something that is high on their radar. We have been in a very fortunate position to be able to grow the business organically. We're also, frankly, more proactive in looking at acquisitions. This is an industry that finally is going to be able to thrive in the United States, the largest economy in the world. And I think the industry is still underestimating the shift from the headwinds to the tailwinds. That's going to make a bigger difference than people think. And finally, the U.S. market is really unlocked.
So it sounds like what you're saying, acquisitions are almost more of a priority now than an IPO for you. So then what would you be looking for to buy, and how big are you willing to go?
Well, I'm not going to name names, but look, Ripple at its core is a blockchain infrastructure company. We sell our technologies to business, primarily financial institutions, and we'll look at other things that are blockchain infrastructure companies. I think there will be consolidation this year. There's a lot of excitement about some of the changes, and we will lean into that for sure.
So yeah, I mean, listen, at the end of the day, we already heard from Monica Long as well this year that they are in a acquisitive stage where they want to acquire, not, just launch an IPO for money. They are in a very good position. They have a massive stack load of money on the sides, just waiting to buy up companies if they want to or if they have to. And Ripple is just in a very good, they're in a very good position. They're in a dominant position as well. So when we think about what's going on here, obviously, a Ripple IPO would be huge. I don't think that it happens this year. I don't even think that it happens in 2026 because of the position that they're in. Also, remember that RLUSD is a strategic move for Ripple. I said it when they said that they were going to launch a stablecoin as well, that this is going to unlock so many great revenue opportunities for Ripple. And I think that that's exactly why they don't care about an IPO anymore. And I also think that as an XRP holder, we should all be very bullish on the fact that, Ripple has a massive amount of money on hand because it means that they won't have to sell XRP the way that they have in, past years, for an example. And also with the stablecoin launch, that is also a big deal as well, which makes it very bullish for XRP holders and for XRP itself. But with that being said, I am very excited for, this entire market really opening up. We're starting to see a lot of IPOs. We're starting to see public companies diving on in. This is exactly what we want to see. These public companies will really kind of accelerate mass adoption of the tech. Got to remember that, right? This brings in millions of users to crypto immediately. Now, obviously, yes, it's stablecoins, but the underlying networks are going to be utilized at scale as well through these initiatives. So love to see that. It's a great time to be a crypto holder, in my opinion. And with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because some more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.